Today I'm going to show off 5 different feats with specific uses for characters in my campaigns that I wanted to give a little power boost and flavor boost to. These 5 are designed for specific subclasses, but you can absolutely use some of them for other subclasses as you see fit, and I think that more people should homebrew feats for their players. I think it's fun. Hello, my name is Jason, and this is a Dragon's Horde D&D where I share all of my homebrew stuff with you and where I try to drastically tip the balance in the player's favour. Before I get into the feats themselves, I want to go over my thinking, really, behind this. I really like homebrewing items, as I'm sure you've seen. I really like homebrewing monsters. As it stands at the moment, my favourite thing to brew is feats, because they give players a permanent power boost without you having to worry about attunement or anything like that. And you can also make them completely and utterly tied to the story. I will go through how and when players got these specific feats and the classes that they're playing as we go, as well as obviously what the feat does. Some of these I built to help bring out the flavour of the subclass a bit more, or the character a bit more, or the background of them, or what they've been through, things like that. I do always want my players to feel powerful, even if I'm constantly challenging them with fights, which I am generally doing because I also brew a bunch of monsters, so it balances out. And these feats really help with that, as well as giving the players more options or just a general power or utility boost, and I think all of these things really help. So I'm going to go over the feats in alphabetical order, haha, because what's better than alphabetical order? Nothing. Nothing is better than alphabetical order. The first of the 5 is called the Boon of Contradictions, which I made for a Fiend Warlock who wanted to be allied and aligned with Mephistopheles specifically. Mephistopheles is known as the Lord of Contradictions in D&D lore, and is also more commonly associated with ice than he is with fire. Despite that, the Fiend Warlock is mostly a fire-based subclass, and that kind of irks me generally. My aim with this was to kind of show off a deepening of the contract between the master and the player. The player had to sign their own hand with a knife in order to secure this, basically, this boon. And I think the boon also helps show off what it is that their character could be doing based on the master that they're serving. This boon does 2 things, basically. The first is it allows the player to switch any fire spells to cold spells and any cold spells to fire spells. This is more of a flavor thing, really, than anything. There are obviously monsters with resistances to one or the other, and that can come in useful then, but for the most part, it's just a really easy way to add a bit more of that Mephistopheles flavour to the Fiend Warlock. The other thing it does depends on the element used. Any fire spells cause the target to burst into flames, and any cold spells slow the target down. These do go up as the player goes through the levels, as the proficiency bonus changes mostly. The speed reduction doesn't, though, because a lot of monsters don't get much faster as they go on. While there are some incredibly fast high CR creatures, a lot of them still end up in the 30 to 40 range, so slowing something down by 10 feet is still incredibly effective, especially if you've also got other players making them prone or making them run away or anything else. I really like this as a feat because it really lets my player do what he wants to do. He's a very tactically minded player, and his PC is as well, and allowing him to just instantly have more options with all of his spells. It makes for a lot of fun. It also makes fireballs preposterously strong because they have a damage over time effect added to them. So that's something to keep in mind if you are going to give this to a player. Obviously, as with any fire, the character can use an action to get rid of it on their turn, but most of the time it's not really worth it. The second of these feats is called Eerie End, and I made it for a character who is a Phantom Rogue. I really like the Phantom Rogue. Obviously, as it stands at the time of recording, at the time of this video going live, we do not have an updated 2024 version of it. While I really enjoy a lot of what it does, the whole trinket thing and general necromancy vibes are a lot of fun, and the PC himself is a surgeon, so it fits quite well in a spooky, esoteric kind of sense. I don't think it does enough to kind of lean into its own vibe, really. I think it could do more, and that's basically what this feat is for. So, when the PC offs a character and uses a sneak attack to do so, they can bring that character back as a ghost that's allied to them and lasts for a minute or until destroyed. They can do this once per long rest. I will likely tweak that particular aspect, and maybe even the number, probably the number of times you can use it as they go through the levels, but for now, that's perfectly fitting. And I didn't see the need to scale it because rogues get sneak attack anyway. I'm I'm almost definitely going to alter this one at some point, but we'll see how it feels later on in the campaign. The PC in question hasn't actually done this yet because since getting the feat, they've been incredibly unlucky with sneak attacks, which is just how it goes sometimes. But I'm looking forward to seeing the PC react to this, sort of not understanding that this is a thing they could do, and then seeing their reaction as the ghost obeys them. It's a fun little bit of RP for everyone involved. The next one is the most recent of the bunch because one of the player characters was defeated by his father in a rather brutal fashion, and this is Forms of the Veiled Eclipse. This is for a Circle of Stars druid who is a product of a triple merging of different realms, basically, just for an instant, and as a result they've got these extra forms along with their normal Circle of Stars forms. Now, normally Circle of Stars forms let you shed light in an area. I thought it would be fun to change that completely. So when using the inverted forms, they shed darkness and then dim light. It's a really small change, but it's a fun one, and it could potentially be an extra way to build around if they really want to. Along with that, there's inverted forms of the Archer, the Chalice, and the Dragon as well. The Archer one changes it from an attack roll to a save, and in an AoE instead of a single target. It still does damage, we love it. The Inverted Chalice lets you damage an additional creature when you cast a damaging spell, very much the inverse of what the normal Chalice does with healing. And the Dragon was the trickiest of the three. The Dragon's kind of an RP one. It helps with wisdom checks and stuff, and I was trying to figure out the best way to go about that, and what I landed on was that when you cast a spell that has an effect that requires a save, you can reduce that save by your wisdom modifier. Also, at level 10, you gain a burrowing speed to represent the fact that it's this like corrupted dragon. It's a really minor thing that's probably more of a ribbon feature. I will 100% regret it when the player is hopping in and out of the ground like a Diglett, but it's something for me to look forward to. Next is the War Clerics Beat, that's the character that unfortunately got beaten. So the character never got this feat because it was defeated in the fight that it was going to unlock it. Unfortunately, this is the way it goes sometimes with D&D and with Homebrew especially. This one's called Life and Death. War Clerics want to be attacking and they want to be healing. Generally speaking, they can kind of do both with their main action and the bonus action, and I think that's a really fun space to play around in. So the way that this one works is if they've healed a character on their turn before using an attack, they can add one roll of the healing dice to their attack along with their cleric level. Then, if they've attacked a creature this turn, they can add one roll of the damage dice to the healing along with their cleric level. This scales up really easily because of the cleric level thing, and it's just a fun little thing to do. So yeah, I like it. The final of the 5 feats is for the Psi Fighter, the Psionic Fighter class. Psi Warrior. It's called the Psi Warrior. The final of the 5 is called Psychic Swing, which is for the Psi Warrior Fighter subclass. Now, to be frank, fighters do not need a buff in 2024. They are preposterously strong, and this subclass allows them to not only deal damage but also have better movement and control, and also even reduce the damage that's coming against them or their friends. It's genuinely phenomenal. I don't care about that though. I care about making my players feel cool, and that's what it's all about. So with this one, the player character can basically throw their weapon, like Jedi style, an additional 10 feet on top of their normal range. Then when the weapon hits, or if the weapon hits, they can choose to move the creature it hits if the creature fails on an athletics or acrobatics check, basically versus the attack roll itself. This means that higher CR creatures and larger creatures are more likely to succeed in this, which is kind of the point. But from there, you take your ability modifier and multiply it by your proficiency bonus to get the number of feet you can move a thing, and you can move them in any direction. This is mostly so that you can pull a creature toward you if they're slightly out of range, but it can also be used to knock enemies away if they're too close to a friendly unit, or just knock them straight up in the air if you feel like knocking them prone. This is the one that's gone through the most revisions. I've revised this one 3 times at the time of recording. I don't see myself changing it again, but it could happen. All 5 of these feats allow the player characters to kind of be rewarded. So the psychic one was given as a potion for a particularly good fight. The druid came in with their Circle of Stars one already because they joined after the cleric, who was meant to have found theirs during a boss fight. The fiend warlock got theirs by opening an infernal puzzle box and then signing a new contract, which is just a nice bit of RP. And the phantom rogue got theirs when when they fought off a couple of ghosts that came out of a shambling, because that was the first time they'd actually fought any ghosts, and it just felt like a good way of kind of giving it to the player. I'm a big fan of powering up my players because I like using really, really strong monsters, and that's the fastest way for me to do it. I appreciate that's not for everyone, but it's fun for me. I will likely design more of these the more my players have different subclasses and different campaigns. If there are any that you'd like to see, let me know. I would love to homebrew stuff for you, the dear viewers, if you would be so gracious as to have me. But that is that for now, so until next time, please take care, like and subscribe, and yeah, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.